Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. What happens when a veteran passes away? Look, I talked with a gentleman the other day who happens to be a veteran, and his father was a veteran, and that was the question that came up. Now, I wanted to share that with you, kind of just tell you the story, the conversation loosely, because my memory isn't that great. So let's jump into it. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. Now let's jump into it. What happens when the veteran passes away? In this example and conversation that I had, the veteran had a surviving spouse. Now, I have limited information in this situation. It was just a quick conversation, and the first thing is, okay, well, DIC, Dependency, Indemnity, Compensation. This was Vietnam veteran, Korean veteran. Potential for Agent Orange stuff, depending on when he was in and time frames and where he was at and all that stuff. Don't know what kind of service connections he had prior to death, and not sure if the death certificate actually showed any of those. So my conversation was dependency indemnity compensation, which pays out anywhere between $1,600 per month, a little over that, up over $3,000 per month, depending on a whole bunch of different variables. How long you were married? Do you yourself need aid and attendance? Are you yourself, this surviving spouse, housebound? There's a whole bunch of different kind of add-ons that happen with dependency indemnity compensation, or DIC. If you want to look into it, just Google search VA DIC, and that will land you on that information. So in order to qualify, there's kind of two roads, right? One road, the easiest road, is if a veteran was 100% rated, including TDIU, total disability, individual unemployability, for a 10-year period or longer. So if you've been paid or rated at the 100% mark for 10 years, you can pass away of anything. Walk out in the street and get hit by a bus, right? So it doesn't matter what the cause of death is, the surviving spouse should be entitled to DIC. Now, let's say that you have not had 100% for 10 years. Now we're looking at a different set of criteria. There's also, just because it's filled with nuance, there are other qualifiers based on length of time from discharge, that type of stuff. I think it was 5 years if you were 100% straight out the gate. But for the most part, people qualify under these two things. The 10-year time frame of being 100%, pass away from anything, or the other, which would be you have to pass away from a service-connected condition. Now, these are the two primary. There's a couple other ways which are very uncommon, but you should definitely check with an accredited representative. So the way that this works, this part's important, is the way the VA looks at passing away from a service-connected condition is that a service-connected condition is listed on the death certificate. Now, here's another interesting part. The death certificate has two spots, one for cause of death and one for contributing cause of death. So if your condition, your service-connected condition, is not the cause of death, could it have been a contributing cause to death? Now, I have an example for you. The example is veteran, in this case we'll say has Agent Orange presumptives allowed, right? So we'll say that the veteran has hypertension or had hypertension, but dies of a heart attack, didn't have a heart condition as a service-connected condition, dies of a heart condition, heart attack. Now, you could go back and ask the vital records folks to amend the death certificate and add as a contributing cause to death the hypertension. Now, at that point, you now have a death certificate that has a service-connected condition mentioned on it. Now you can utilize that documentation as evidence for DIC. Now, this is the conversation that I had. explaining just kind of in general what to do. I said, look, you need to go through your father's records, VA records, and see what he was service connected for. Correlate that with cause of death and see if you can get something added on. Now, even if, again, filled with nuance, even if the veteran did not have the service-connected condition, but had the condition, right, but didn't have it service-connected, right? So let's use hypertension again. Veteran had hypertension, was on the presumptive list, qualified for presumptive, just for an easy argument here, had it all, but never filed it with the VA. That's okay. You now are going to have to prove to the VA that hypertension is service connectable by way, in this example, of a presumptive condition. So has hypertension due to Agent Orange exposure given a certain time frame. All of those boxes are checked. Now, all of a sudden, hypertension is now a service-connected condition for future benefit purposes, which would then be DIC. So you can correct it even if the veteran never did file for it themselves. That's okay. It's just another hurdle, which is why I suggest, look, if you have it, you might as well, especially if it's something that could benefit in the way of DIC, it's just kind of nicer to have it all squared away, buttoned up, so it's an easier path when the surviving spouse has to go through this stuff. So it was go through the record, see if there's anything that correlates to cause of death. If so, great, utilize that, get the death certificate amended to add that as a contributing cause, and then move forward with DIC. If there's not, then you need to kind of decide whether or not there are any conditions that could have been service connected, and go that route, trying to get something service connected, so then you can then get that condition added to the death certificate as a contributing cause. Now, I suggest working with an accredited representative to help you through that, because it can be a little bit labor intensive to go through all of that stuff. Now, that was the first part of the conversation. The second part of the conversation was the surviving spouse of the veteran, the guy I was talking to, who was also a veteran, his mother, right? His mother is older and now in need of care. So what can she do? You know, money's running tight, you know, and all that, and they're trying to figure it out. My suggestion was, one, DIC would help, but let's move on. Next is every state, as far as I'm aware of, has state owned, I guess, and operated veterans' homes. Every state's different, qualification for entry, all of that stuff, but many of them allow the spouse to go too. So check and see if there's a way that a surviving spouse can get enrolled and I guess accepted into one of those homes. So check the state in which she's in, contact the state's Veterans Affairs Department, because there's the federal VA, and then every state has their own version of a state Veterans Affairs, because there are state veterans benefits and so forth, and these state-run homes and state cemeteries and all that stuff. So they have a little, you know, kind of a housing group for that. Reach out to them. They're called different things in some cases. Sometimes they merge them with the military department, which operates the National Guard. So it might be the Military and Veterans Affairs Office or department or what have you. So in any case, find out what organization that is for your state, what state government entity it is called. Reach out to them, specifically to the Veterans Homes section, and ask them. Asking questions will get you closer, and hopefully there's a way in. That would be another option. Also, aging and adult services, contacting them just from a benefit standpoint, especially if money is tight, are all options. And even the VA may potentially have an option as well. So, but that's kind of the course of action in that conversation. So just wanted to share it with you. And thank you so much. If you're watching, I appreciate the conversation that we had. And I'll, just leave it there. Thank you so much. I really appreciate everyone for watching. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.